What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Heliocentric Podcast, hosted by yours truly, Pierre, Pee Wee the Plug, Andreessen. As always, we have a lot to unpack in the NBA world. But before we dive into that, I just want to remind everybody at home, make sure you hit that like button for me. And if you're new and you enjoy this type of content, make sure you subscribe. Also, my audio listeners, wherever you get your audio podcasts or whatever audio platforms you use, head over there, leave this podcast and myself a 5-star review. As always, much appreciated. I want to send a lot of love. I know the holiday season is here. Everybody's going to be on a journey, Christmas shopping, traveling, getting to family over these next few weeks. So I just want to send my love to everybody. As always, much, much, much love. Now, for basketball talk, the first thing that we want to talk about and address is something that I recently went over and talked about, a little bit about on my YouTube channel. If you are a subscriber, you might have seen the video. And that's the Detroit Pistons. Now, when I made my video, which was last week, early in the week last week, I was just addressing the fact that the Detroit Pistons were, tough to watch. They were a disgrace to the NBA, and it was based off of the fact that they were going a month without a win. They were basically going from October 28th to November 28th without a win. And as the week resumed and the losing continued, Detroit officially went all of November without a win. They went an entire month without a win, not just an entire month, but the first actual full month of the NBA season, they went without a win. Now, usually for me, as an NBA fan, as an NBA media person, when teams have rough patches or they're just not fun to watch, you may just say that. You may just say, man, this team is not fun to watch. I don't even really watch them, and there's nothing much else to say. But I'm not going to lie to y'all. The Detroit Pistons situation is extremely fascinating to me. And I think I'm going to keep a close eye on this because, number one, Detroit is literally right across the water. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're like I always say, Detroit people are like cousins to me. It's like family, Chicago, Detroit, Milwaukee, Ohio, Gary, Indiana. It's just like this. We're all one damn near. But besides that fact, I just can't believe the predicament that they're in. Like, it's just the fact that a lot of us, nobody's seen this coming. Is basically what's so baffling to me about this situation is a lot of basketball people and basketball minds expected this team to be a little bit better than this or marginally better than this. And again, I say that with caution because nobody expected the Detroit Pistons to be a legitimate playoff team. I think best case scenario, they just shocked the world and was playing teams or a playing team. But I think a lot of people thought that this team would improve from their previous year. I don't think that we thought that they would have another year like they just came out of, especially with the fact that Cade Cunningham is healthy. You have Monty Williams, a new coach who is won in Phoenix, and we saw the turnaround that they had. Jalen Duren and Jaden Ivey with another year under their belts. There were a lot of positive arrows pointing in the direction of this team being better than the previous year. And 20 games into the season, 17-game losing streak currently, and a schedule ahead of them where the only team that they possibly on paper, record-wise, can match up with and get a win is maybe the next game, which is the Grizzlies. And the thing about the NBA, first and foremost, I'll say it's no secret. Anybody can beat anybody on any given day. Doesn't matter the roster, doesn't matter the record, don't matter if you're at home. There's always that swinger's chance in the NBA because all of these guys are professional players. You can get a random guy that you never heard of decide to drop 35 and get a win over a team that's at the top of their conference. So it's not that the Pistons will never, ever get a win again. We are understanding that they are going to get a win. But when you look at their schedule and the road that they have ahead of them, legitimately, in the month of December, for them to get another win, unless somebody's going to rest, unless some teams are going to say, hey, we don't take them serious, so we're just going to allow, our stars to get a breather, because we don't really care. Unless something like that happens, you have the Grizzlies you play on Wednesday, who are at the bottom of the West, but they're still a better team than you. And sometime in December, you have the Jazz, who have not been playing really good basketball, also at the bottom of the West, but still technically are better than you. So that's where this thing gets a little scary. You're already on a 17-game losing streak. You go into a month where majority of these games are tough, and you could see yourself potentially going in another entire month without winning. I wouldn't hope that on my worst enemy. I wouldn't hope that on any fan base. I wouldn't hope that on any player. That's a tough rock bottom to hit. Potentially going 2 months without a win. Even if they did get one win in the month of December, I think that would still be disheartening. I think this team needs a few wins. This team needs about 2 or 3 wins to really potentially get themselves out of the bottoms of the bottoms. They're already at the bottom. They're probably going to bottom out as a team. But like to have some type of morale boost, I think they need a few wins. One win in the month of December to like break a streak, or it's not going to be enough. You already see frustrations kind of boiling up. Jaden Ivey and his people obviously are kind of confused and aren't happy with his role. That was obvious and didn't need to be said. But now there's rumors that's coming out that the front office is kind of unhappy with the amount of usage that Monty Williams is using Jaden Ivey in. So I don't, that's another conflict. And behind all of this, Cade Cunningham is kind of playing some decent basketball. It's hard to say good or great basketball because they're on a 17-game losing streak. And that's another thing that I feel like is kind of demeaning and tough for this team, is the fact that you have a guy like Cade Cunningham, and some of the conversations around his name is going to be hard to evaluate. And I was talking to, and the reason I'm saying I was talking to my dad, and my dad was kind of like, I'm not surprised. I didn't think anything of Detroit and, Cade Cunningham. Like, they don't even have a guy. Like, is Cade Cunningham that guy? And I was going back and forth with my pops. I like Cade Cunningham. He knows I like Cade Cunningham. But even without the like of Cade Cunningham, when you just look at the performances he's putting on in some of these losses and the numbers, he's kind of out there by himself. And again, it's very hard to evaluate from both sides. It's hard to say that he's that guy, but I also think on a flip side, it's hard to really say he's not that guy. So now we're in a situation where we have a number 1 overall pick that we're trying to evaluate. Who is this guy? How good is he? Does he make teammates better? Is this a legitimate thing where we look at him and it's a reflection of him? Hey, man, you can't even get a win for your team. Do we put that on him? Do we not? Do we consider the fact that the spacing is terrible? That nobody else on the team is even close to averaging what he's averaging? There's nobody can take any pressure off of him. You know what I mean? Like, do we take that? Like, how do we really gauge and look at Cade Cunningham, a number 1 overall pick in his 3rd year? How do we gauge him? That's another situation that comes about with this situation that's going on. You look at the fact that you go against the Washington Wizards last week, which this is what really made me make my video. That was a game that you were supposed to win. The winning streak, the losing streak stops right there. You play the Wizards at home, and that was a game I thought the Pistons could win and would win. And I thought the conversation would then turn to the Wizards, and it would be time to, talk about Kyle Kuzma being traded, and, is Jordan Poole a guy that they're sticking around for long term, or are the rumors of him potentially being traded again, if possible? Is that true? Like, Tyus Jones getting a new home. I thought that was going to be the conversation, but instead, Detroit loses by 20 at home to a Washington Wizards team that Kyle Kuzma himself said, hey, we can't guard a stop sign. And somehow you lose by 20 at home to that team. It's tough to wrap your mind around it. And again, I feel for Detroit Pistons fans. Shout out to my guy, Naram. But it's just like, it's a disservice to the league to be this bad, because fandom isn't something that's a given. Naran and all other Detroit Pistons fans, they don't owe the Pistons anything. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to make it seem like the Pistons owe them directly anything, but I do think that franchises owe their fans some type of commitment to trying to put out the best product and formulate some type of foundation. But when you think about the Detroit Pistons, and I'm going to read some things off for y'all that I wrote down, over the last 14 years, or the last 14 seasons, for the Detroit Pistons, 8 of them, they've had 50 or more losses. They've had 65 losses in a season. Understand that in the last 14 years, eight, more than half of those seasons, they've had 50 or more losses. And when you look at the start of a season, in the first full month, you don't have a win. That tells me that you're going down the same road. So that means we have another 50 loss season ahead of us, which would mean 9 seasons of 50 or more losses in the last 15 years, if they continue down this path. There's a lot of basketball left to play. I'll give them that. But based off what I'm seeing, it looks like they're headed down the path for another 50 loss season. Excuse me. And it's extremely pathetic because, again, you have these picks where you're able to get Cade Cunningham. I was there for that. I've seen the excitement of the fan base. Extremely happy to get Cade, and Cade embracing the city. He's at the draft night with the Buffs on. And this is a big win for them because the Killian Hayes pick didn't really seem to have made the impact that you thought it would. Not even close, if we're being honest. It's sort of bounce back from that and to get Cade Cunningham. And then after Cade Cunningham, you get Jaden Ivey and you get Jalen Duren. Something was positive brewing. And then you bounce back after that and get Monty Williams, who, is a respected coach. And as a Detroit Pistons fan base, when you look at what he did in Phoenix and the success that he had there, you get excited. It's like, oh, okay, we want to have that type of turnaround. Well, we could be a team that's known for, having some losing seasons, known for struggling. We get our guy. Can Cade Cunningham kind of be our Devin Booker, and we can kind of build around that. And, Jalen Duren, Ivy, we can formulate something, and we can head into a direction where maybe not immediately we turn it around, but we start to see steady growth and improvement. And then, boom, before you know it, we're a playoff team. And then, okay, cool. And now we come back and we're a competitive playoff team. Or then now we can win a series. And you know what I mean? Like, that's what Detroit fans were looking for. That's what they were hoping for. You pay a coach $80 million and you get 17-game losing streak. And the first official month of the season, you don't get a win. It's just hard to wrap your mind around. I just don't know. And I said it in the other video. I don't know where you go from here. Like, even in a 2K world where you're rebuilding a team, I don't know what they do. They might at some point have to bite the bullet of saying, hey, we overpaid but even then, that's tough because they're not going to fire Monty Williams. They're not, because they're so concerned about the response and the look of that and the humility that'll come with the media and the backlash. Because I won't lie, if they fire Monty Williams, I would probably make a video about it. You probably hear about it on the Heliocentric. Yeah, you probably get laughed at for a little bit, but that comes with the territory. But if it can lead you down to a different path, if it can give your fan base and your franchise some clarity, a breath of fresh, if you can just say, hey, we messed up. I think sometimes for franchises, that's the best thing. When you make their own draft pick, instead of trying to really make this dude be that guy that you thought you drafted, sometimes it's better to just not waste any more time and say, hey, we just made the wrong pick. We're going to pivot. You know what I mean? We're going to let him go. We're going to trade him, or we're going to not bring him back on a rookie extension. And we're just going to say, hey, we made the wrong pick. We messed up. But let's wash our hands and let's move on. I think the same thing can be that way for coaching. It's just that y'all gave him $80 million. He's one of the richest coaches. And it's funny because him and Greg Popovich, two of the highest paid coaches in the league, they're combined 5 for 36 right now. The only difference is one is Greg Popovich, the other is Monty Williams. No disrespect to Coach Monty. Like him, respect him. But he's no Greg Popovich. And their roster doesn't have a Victor Wembanyama, who they can be, quote-unquote, patient with. So, yeah, Detroit, hopefully they can get this win against the Grizzlies on Wednesday. I mean, this losing streak, I keep saying winning streak. This losing streak is just so bad. You really have to understand we're barely talking about the Spurs. Yeah, the Spurs are on a 14-game losing streak themselves. You don't really hear anybody talking about it because the attention is on the Pistons. The Spurs are not that good right now. The Spurs almost went the entire month of losing in November as well. I think they had one win in November, which was November 2nd, the beginning of November. The rest of November, they took L's. No one batted an eye. No one blinked at it. Outside of Spurs fans, I'm sure Spurs fans and Spurs podcasts are probably talking about it and diving in. But, like, I've really been seeing and hearing conversations about the Pistons. And I think it's rightfully so, because at least the Spurs have Greg Popovich. At least they have Vic. The Pistons, I don't know. I really just don't know. And I think that's what fascinates me personally, is the fact that somebody as opinionated as me, somebody who knows as much basketball as I like to say I know, somebody who is intrigued with trying to fix and figure out things from a GM perspective. I would love to be a GM one day, which is partly why I've done 2K rebuilds. It's not because I love playing 2K, but it's just because I love the exercise of trying to rebuild a team and use realistic approaches. I look at the Pistons and I just don't even know where I would start. There is nothing you can really hang your hat on. You know what I mean? Like, and I would love to, I want to open up the comments for that. Piston fans, non-Piston fans, like, realistically speaking, ladies and gentlemen, if you can, let me know in the comments where you would start with the Pistons. Are you firing Monty Williams? Do you think that's an embarrassing bad look and you just bite the bullet and say, hey, we at least got to keep him for 2 years? We have to keep him for 2 years. We can't give you $80 million. And in the first month of the season, we're saying no. We can't cut ties with you. Do you just let him finish the year? Do you think a year is too premature? How do you feel about Cade Cunningham? Not that you wouldn't keep him, but, like, do you feel like he's going to force his way out? Sign a rookie extension, and then halfway through the first year of that, it's like, hey, I request a trade. Jaden Ivey. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you think of him as a player? I don't even know what to think. And then now he's frustrated. So, I know everybody loves Asar Thompson. Everybody loves Asar Thompson. But, yeah, I just don't, you had a chance to trade Bogdanovich last year. They were rumored to have teams that were so interested in him that they would have gave you 2 first-round picks. Obviously, both of those first-round picks wouldn't be super, super, super lucrative. You're not going to get 2 top 5 picks. But still, 2 first-round picks is 2 first-round picks. And now, he just played his first game. You still lost. I don't know how much his value is. He has a calf injury, and he's only getting older. I don't know if you're getting 2 picks for him anymore. Can Alec Burks get you a first-round pick? You move both of those, and you just continue to load up on the future assets? I don't know. Because your draft history doesn't make me super confident. It doesn't. So, yeah, let me know in the comments, man. Please, please, please. The Detroit Pistons is something, again, like I said, I'm probably not going to talk about them to this extent every podcast, but I'm definitely, as a fan of the game, I'm going to be watching them. I think they have been a disgrace to the NBA. I think they have been. I think they're a talented team. Individually in a lot of different ways. Collectively, the talent is not shown. I respect their players. I respect their coaches. But again, collectively, it hasn't been it. And I think in today's game, in 2023, with as much talent as we have in a league right now with so much parity, a team being this bad, to me is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. When you figure out how much money cities put into teams for arenas and staffing for arenas and, a new parking lot, all of these new things that go into sponsoring and investing in a team, a 17-game losing streak in the first month is unacceptable. And I would encourage fans to understand that. It's not just 2K. This is a real world. And I'm saying that because I'm here in Chicago, and the Bears haven't really been that good. But you know what they're talking about in our city? Building a new stadium. and when you see the money and the amounts that go into making a new stadium, we're going to move it from here, we're going to put it over there. It's like, hold up, why? Before y'all do that, y'all should win some games. Show us as people in the city or a part of the community why it's worth that. And one of the solutions is to put the stadium around me. I'm on the outskirts of Chicago in the suburbs. They want to put it around our suburbs. Hold up. Before y'all do that and create commotion and where we at and traffic for us on every Sunday, win some games. I just encourage y'all to look at that. I be seeing, I get the newspaper and I see the conversations. I read certain articles. And, man, the amounts of money, I'm going to see if I can Google the amounts of money that go into just a stadium alone. And we're not even talking about the practice facility. A lot of teams have practice facilities that's off base from the arenas. That the money is just crazy. I'm just saying Bears new stadium price. $5 billion retail and residential development. $5 billion investing into a new arena for a team that hasn't really been worthwhile or worth watching in a long time. They can't. We don't even have a solution to the coaching problem, and we're trying to put $5 billion into a stadium. Don't make sense to me. Staying on the subject of teams that come from losing, the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bulls have had a rocky start to the season. We all know, very, very topical team. They were a team that was talked about a lot before Pistons started their losing streak or whatnot. The Bulls have won 2 games in a row. And usually that wouldn't be a big deal. Wouldn't really probably speak on that. Would probably say, hey, congrats to the Bulls. Kenny, your team is winning some games. I'm happy for you. The telling part about this is there is no Zach LaVine. Right? They beat the Bucks. They beat the Pelicans. Zach LaVine hasn't played in both. I believe DeMar DeRozan didn't play in the very first win against the Bucks, the more impressive win in my opinion. And I think the Bulls may be owning something. This may be the sign and the writing on the wall of pressing the button. Press the panic button. If there was never any other indication that the time was now, the past 2 games may be it. And again, 2 games don't mean nothing. I'm not saying that the Bulls are going to go on a crazy win streak and turn their season around. But just the feeling of the Bulls right now over these last 2 games without a Zach LaVine, and again, no disrespect to Zach, no disrespect to DeMar DeRozan, I'm just going off what my eyes are telling me. And the Bulls look to be having more fun. They look to be a little bit more free. And they just beat 2 teams that I believe on any given night I'm picking to beat the Bulls. Not only beat the Bulls, but beat the hell out of the Bulls. To beat the Bucks was impressive. Caruso, game time shot. You go into overtime. They play their asses off overtime. Vucevic, Kobe White, Pat Williams, Ayo. Really, really impressive. Vuce had a really good game in that game. And then the second game against the Pelicans, you get DeMar DeRozan to come back. He had a really impressive game. Kobe White stood out big time with 31 points, 8 assists, 6 rebounds. Really, really good. Another good performance from Ayo. Patrick Williams, solid. But it's kind of showing you that there's something there and there's some growth from these players that could potentially be under the surface with the move from DeMar and Zach LaVine. And Bulls fans have echoed that. That's been the part that Bulls fans are like, hey, maybe we have. So I want to see what we have with these guys and what they would look like with more responsibility. What does Kobe White really look like? What does Patrick like? They really want to see the growth in Patrick Williams, if I'm being honest. They want to see those steps. They want to see more shot attempts. They want to see him being more aggressive. That can't ever happen if he's sharing the floor with DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. I'm just being honest. Patrick Williams isn't cut from that type of cloth to say, hey, DeRozan, watch out. It's my turn or it's my time. He's just not that guy. So you may have to really remove those guys and force him into that role. And Bulls fans are begging and are starving for that sight of Patrick Williams having that type of responsibility and role on this team just so they can know truly who he is, because he shows flashes and he's a likable player and he's still extremely young. So for them to be in the situation and have just the feeling, it's not about the results, but the feeling of like upbeatness. I think it shows that it's time, and I'm hoping that the Bulls are ready to make the moves. On the Through the Wire podcast, Kenny put out the theory that Zach LaVine may be sitting out because there may be a trade in place for him when we hit December 15th, which is right around the corner. and maybe they don't want to try anything and have him get a real significant injury or anything to kind of mess up the potential trade out there. That's not a fact. This is all speculation. But I think I wouldn't be mad at that for the Bulls. I wouldn't be. And I do think that the Bulls have to allow themselves to be realistic a little bit. Zach LaVine does have to have a hefty contract. There is a small market for him. Apparently, there's little to no market, but I don't believe that. I believe there is a team that will bite the bullet. Somebody like the Lakers, of course. And I don't think that the Bulls can play the Daryl Morey game where they're trying to hold out for the best Zach LaVine package or the best DeMar DeRozan package. I think it's just more about getting some assets back, getting something back, and really seeing what you have with your guys, getting out of the handcuff of that money on Zach LaVine, and really just accepting the fact that you have a new era. And at the end of the season, you do whatever you want to do with Billy Donovan, whether that's bring him back. I heard apparently he's not on the hot seat. That's very hard to believe. That this team has been awful. So I hope that they are looking at the coaching landscape as much as they're looking at their roster. Not saying that I want anybody to be fired, but to say that he is not on a hot seat or to say that he's safe, bit of a head scratcher to me. This team has not performed. Nobody in the Bulls organization should be comfortable right now, in my opinion. But yeah, that's my little spiel on the Bulls. Probably rare to really talk about the Bulls or dive in, but I was impressed. The last two games, I caught both late games because, again, I'm going into these games not really looking at the Bulls as a team I really want to tune into. But to catch the ending of these games and to see them pull them out, very impressive because the Pelicans game was really a one. Well, both games, obviously, but I definitely thought the Pelicans would with Zion and Brandon Ingram, I thought they would close that out. But the Bulls said nah. Another thing we got to talk about in connection to the Bulls, again, the Bucks. Real briefly, yeah, the Bulls beat the Bucks, and it's 20 games to the season, but the Bucks defense, man, it's concerning. It really is concerning. When you lose to a Bulls team and you give up that many points to a Bulls team that didn't have DeMar or Zach LaVine, it's mind-boggling. You know, it's hard to think of them as an elite contending team. Realistically, we give them that respect because they do have Damian Lillard and they do have Giannis and Chris Middleton and Brook Lopez. Like, when you have that type of team with those names on paper, you have to give them the respect. They've earned that right to get respect like that. But when you actually look at them, it concerns me. You're 21st in defense, and you're not elite at anything on that side of the floor. You don't cause turnovers. You guard the three-point line averagely. You really don't rebound as good as I think you should. A front court of Giannis, Brook Lopez, Chris Middleton, having Bobby Portis come off the bench, that team should be rebounding a lot better, in my opinion. They give up a lot of offensive rebounds. They don't close out possessions, which is the most important thing to do in the game of basketball on defense. You know what I mean? That's more impressive than blocks. It's just simply guarding your man, forcing a tough shot, and closing out the possession is way more effective than mostly anything else on the defensive end. Obviously, you would love to get steals. They don't do that. They don't force turnovers. So the next best thing for them is to just guard solidly and rebound the basketball, which, again, they're having a tough time doing. They give up the most shots in the game of anybody in the season, anybody in the league. The only elite thing that they do is block shots. They're third in blocks. Outside of that, there's not really anything. They don't foul a ton, but, again, everything else is either below average or average. There's not too many things. There literally is only one thing that they do elite, and again, that's block shots. So I'm concerned with the Bucks defense. We're getting to that point in the season where it's not like just early. We're about 20 games in. We're getting closer and these games are flying. We're about to enter the in-season tournament today and tomorrow. But the season is moving along. We're already here in December. Before you know it, we'll be in January. And we'll be around January 15th where guys on contract extensions can be traded. Like, The season is kind of flying. A lot is happening, so I think we don't realize how fast it's moving because there's so many different storylines and topics, and you have this team on a 17-game losing streak. You got this team going into tournament play, the in-season tournament. They're eliminated. They're not eliminated. This is the matchup. This dude had 40. This dude almost had 50. He's playing good. He's playing bad. It's a lot going on. But the season is moving along. It really is. So I really do think that the Bucks have some internal discussions and outlooks to really dive in on, because 21st defense, losing and giving up that many points to a Bulls team or any other team is not winning basketball. It's going to be tough to be in the Eastern Conference really competing against a Celtics team and a Philadelphia 76ers team when you can't really defend. Just being honest. Winning. Finally, we could talk about somebody winning. The Orlando Magic recently just had a 9-game winning streak. Obviously, it was closed the other day by the Nets and Mikal Bridges, who had, 26 points in the first quarter. Still want to give the Orlando Magic their flowers. 9-game winning streak, on fire. I believe, their second or third or something like that in the Eastern Conference. Third defensively. And I want to give a lot of credit to Jamal Mosley. Just because of the simple fact that a lot of these players on his team are locked in defensively. They're really locked in defensively. They're giving everything that they have. They're third defensively, and they're winning a lot of games on the back of the defense. And I think a guy like Jalen Suggs, we've seen him be able to carve out not only a role but an identity as a player after a few shaky years, and a lot of people discussing him and what to expect or how we value or gauge him. To now see him turn that corner and buy into something, and really not only buy into it, but to be doing it at a level that's impacting this team to a high regard, in my opinion. And again, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I know a lot of one Magic person that hit me up was like, hey, the entire team has taken a leap. No, you haven't. The entire team has not taken a leap. Cole Anthony is playing some of the best basketball, or probably the best basketball of his career. But when Magic fans were talking about the Magic prior to this year, and I don't know why this is a hard thing for Magic fans to fight against, or why they don't just, accept the reality. The hype was, we have a really good team. Paolo was coming off a Rookie of the Year campaign where we probably could see him taking a step and being a 23 to potentially 25-point scorer, right? And then you have Franz, who has gotten better every single season and is a really good basketball player. Maybe he start to be borderline all-star, 22 points per game. Like, that was the conversation. And then it was figuring out a role for Jalen Suggs. Could Markelle actually have that MVP season we've all kind of been thinking that's on the horizon? You know what I'm saying? Like, that was it. None of those things have really happened. Paolo is averaging 19.5 points, which is fine. I think Franz is at 20, which is fine. Markelle has been hurt 5 games in. Same with Wendell. Jalen Suggs did get his identity. And Cole Anthony is having a career season. But I think that you should look at that as like a sense of pride. Like, yeah, we're that good without certain things. Because Franz is going to hit that. He's going to hit a certain level. Paolo is going to hit a certain level. I think that goes without being said. It's just that it's not happening now, but it isn't an indication to y'all winning. Y'all are still finding out how to win before these guys take those all-star steps, which I think we can guarantee is going to happen, at least for Paolo. Maybe Franz is one of those best players to never make an all-star. I don't know, but I would put my money on him being an all-star. And for y'all to be playing the way that y'all are without that happening yet, it's a scary thing for the NBA. But a lot of Magic fans are like, no, we told y'all. We were already, no. It's not to discredit y'all. You should be happy and applaud. But no Magic fan that I know told me that they would be the second seed on a 9-game winning streak. And I think that that's okay. Y'all did say 7 seed, play in, playoffs. But this is amazing. This is something that nobody, in my opinion, had on the horizon. Definitely not me. I had y'all at 12. Magic fans keep telling me and reminding me. I'm not hiding from that. I had the Magic at 12. That's my job. It's not, you're not gonna make me feel no way. But I am proud of Jamal Mosley because I was a big fan of the hiring when he came from the Dallas Mavericks, because I know the working relationship that he did with the Mavericks, and the close bond him and Luka had. But to see this all come together It's beautiful. It's nothing in the NBA. It's nothing in the NBA I don't love more than a developmental coach winning, because really the story is they'll take developmental coaches and they'll bring them into these young groups like the Magic, and they'll develop, and then they'll say, "Oh, it's time to bring in a winning coach now. Let's bring in a guy that can kind of get us over the hump." And I think Jamal Mosley is solidifying himself as, hey, we might not need that guy to bring us in over the hump when he's done developing. You know what I mean? He can be the guy that can develop and be here for the over the hump winning. So shout out to the Magic. Love young teams that win and that are ahead of schedule and ahead of the curve. It just makes the NBA that more exciting, and it gives us that much more parity. And when you have these teams that aren't necessarily like free agent destinations, it's beautiful. So shout out to the Orlando Magic. Shout out to the Six Man Show. Those are my brothers, and I'm happy to see them every other day on Instagram or Twitter, just going bonkers because they get another win and another win and another win. That was probably the most exciting thing for me, is to see them guys. And that's why, yeah, I randomly will get messages from like Magic people or responses, and they're like, "Hey, you hating on the Magic? You know, like, man, I got two guys that love the Magic. The Six Man Show, that's family. Why would I root against the Magic when I got guys that bleed blue for the Magic? I just have to give my opinion and my predictions. And historically, I'm going to be wrong. It's a part of the job. The Rockets, another team that was starting off real good. Now they're kind of slowing down a little bit. We're starting to see the youth kick in. They can't win on the road. They cannot win on the road. They're 0-8. Just had another loss on the road in LA in the Staples Center. And it's funny because when this game was coming on, we were in the Discord, and one of my homies, I think it was Terrence, he was like, "Man, this just feel like the Rockets and Lakers play each other 80 times. Please let me know in the comments if that ain't the most accurate thing. Why does it feel like the Rockets and the Lakers are playing each other constantly? I feel like once a week this team play." I know in the full landscape of a season, they probably only play each other twice? I mean, no, not twice. 4 times. Twice in Houston, twice in LA. But I swear, he hit it on the head. It feels like this team matches up. These two teams match up against each other at least 30 times a season. One of the reasons I really brought this topic up is because of the Ime and LeBron situation. And I forget the account. Damn it. I wish I could remember the account. Let me try to see while I explain what happened. So apparently in this game, Ime and LeBron went back and forth, and Ime got thrown out. And a lot of people in real time was like, "Man, what was just being said? What happened? I wonder what was going on." Okay, Legend Z. Yes. Legend Z NBA on Twitter. You've probably seen him 1,000 times. He does a really good job. He breaks down the back and forth between players. And I think he did. I really believe this. I'm going to go in here and bring this on a podcast and say it because you can literally see and hear what they're saying. So the back and forth was basically Udoka saying, "Stop crying like bitches, man, and stop bitching." And then LeBron basically saying, "We're all grown, man. That bitch word ain't cool." And Udoka is saying, "Soft ass boy, stop bitching, acting like you're going to do something." And again, I don't want to go out here and say 1,000% this is what it said, but I am looking and heard some of these things to be true. And that was pretty much it. I think that was interesting. I like it from a sense that I think Udoka is just trying to use that type of situation to show his team we ain't scared of nobody. Because after the loss, he was saying, it's very frustrating to see your team kind of get pushed around and punked by a team that's not known for punking people. And I think that was his main goal and message and idea of what he was doing for his team. Was we playing against LeBron James. And I understand a lot of y'all grew up watching LeBron. You know what I'm saying? I know Tari Eason is a big LeBron fan, but hey, we're competing against them now. We don't have to be scared. We can beat these guys. And I think that's big for the Rockets. I really, really do. I think that's important. I think that's big. I think that's why they brought in veteran people. I don't think that they have to be out there like Dylan Brooks trying to annoy and irritate and really, be this villain. But I definitely think that is a big part of the NBA for young teams, and why we constantly see it be a little difficult and hard for young teams to really have success early on, because the NBA is a grind, and it is a time where you have to kind of forget who you're playing against, I think, And that's an interesting thing and an interesting topic that I think will be really fun to discuss with players or young players. Like, how hard is it to really going into that compete mode against guys that you grew up idolizing, maybe? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, it has to be somewhat difficult to not be like, oh my gosh, it's like, nah, I'm going at Bron full throttle. Yeah, I grew up a fan. And it's not that they're not competing. It's not that they're trying to take it easy on Bron, anything like that. But I think, it's easy to kind of just be caught up in the fact that you're going against people, Steph Curry, LeBron, Kevin Durant. These are, what I'm saying? These are guys that, again, everybody growing up has idolized. And I wonder if it is difficult, if am I overthinking it, or are they just not good enough to compete, So that was interesting. And I love that from Ime. I think that the Rockets, they do need a little bit of that. I think this is a team that could be a little bit more grimy, can be a little bit more gritty, can be tough and not be punked by a Lakers team. And they have potential to still do something nice this season. They just have to figure out how to win on the road. But I believe that there's something there. And that's really all I had to really say on it. I don't think this is a big deal. I don't think this is something that needs to be deep dived like you might see some other people do. LeBron and Ime had a back and forth. Not the first time this will happen. Not the last time. You also have to remember LeBron James is peers with a lot of these coaches. You saw the video after the Jazz game where he found out he was older than Will Hardy, the coach of the Utah Jazz. Well, Ime and him, they're peers. They battled against each other before. When when he was in the NBA, all of those years ago, LeBron played against him. So there's still some of that stuff there as well. And that's actually funny to think about and to remember. But again, all in all, I love that from Ime, sticking up for his team, letting them know, it's okay to pump y'all chests out a little bit and really fight for yourselves and not bow down to a Laker team that, if you look around the league, ain't nobody else bowing down to these motherfuckers. Same type of approach that I would have. MVP ladder. I recently saw the MVP ladder from Basketball Reference, and it was extremely interesting to me. I think we're going to have another tough MVP battle. Hopefully, one of these guys just keeps dominating the league, and it's hard to see anybody really competing with him. But the top three people, you have Jokic. Jokic is averaging 23, 13, and basically 10 assists. Basically averaging a triple-double. I think he's averaging like 9.7, 9.6 assists. But yeah, 30 points, 13, and 10, 57% from the field, 30% from three, 78% from the free throw line. They're third in the West. Obviously, they missed Jamal Murray for a little bit there. And I think they actually missed Aaron Gordon for a little bit as well. But they're still thriving. And when this dude leads the NBA in points, rebounds, and assists. Points, rebounds, and assists. That is insane to me. Points, rebounds, and assists as a center. I don't think we appreciate Jokic enough. I'm going to just be real. I don't think we appreciate Jokic enough. When you really say those things to yourself, points, rebounds, and assists as a center leading the NBA. Back-to-back MVP, champion, finals MVP. I know he's a center. Centers are it's always hard for them to really be out of this world. It's like popularity because they're centers. It's so easy. It's so much easier to fall in love with a guard like a Steph Curry, or when Russell Westbrook was averaging his triple doubles, or James Harden isolations and things like that. KD scoring, LeBron. It's easy to fall in love with that versus a center. But man, Jokic is getting it done. Jokic don't get enough love and credit. And we talked about Giannis when Giannis was doing this thing, and Giannis is still doing this thing. But when Giannis was winning his finals and his MVPs and Defensive Player of the Years, we were having those conversations about him potentially being one of the best players of all time. I think we got to start having that with Jokic. Jokic is already one of the best players of all time. But that center position is backed by a lot of dominant forces. And Jokic is getting up there, man. He's getting up there. He got the ring. He got the finals MVP. The Nuggets look like they ain't slowing down at all. We've seen him win games and win without two of his best players. We've seen him win championships with him. He's leading the league in points, rebounds, and assists, game winners. The defense is going up. Yeah, he's never going to be the rim protector, blocking your shot into the fifth row of the stands guy, but it ain't enough to hurt them. Jokic. Shit. Embiid, second on the MVP. 32 points per game, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, 6.5 assists, 49, 31, 87. They're fourth in the Eastern Conference. Those numbers are monstrous as well. It's actually it's kind of unfair that Embiid has to play in the era of Jokic because he's second in the MVP ladder, and he's giving you 32, 11, and 6. 32, 11, and 6, and it's still not the best numbers from the center position. That's crazy. 32, 11, and 6 should be like jaw-dropping. It should be like, what is going on? This is a center doing this. But the guy before him is averaging 30, 13, and 10. And he's leading the league in everything. And then last but not least, because I'm only doing the top 3 from the ladder, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. 30 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 53% from the field. He's shooting a higher percentage than Joel Embiid from the field. 36% from 3 and 93% from the free throw line. The Thunder are second out west. The Timberwolves and Thunder are doing their thing. And here we are, 20 games in, heading into December. We're getting around that part where it's like we have to start looking at things as what it is. It's not like just a nice, hot start to the season. Teams are starting to shape themselves into who we should expect them to be. And to see the Thunder thriving and the Timberwolves thriving is a sight to see. But yeah, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, All-NBA guard from last year, is now etching himself into that MVP conversation. Might not be this year, but he's on his way. He's on his way. Him and the Thunder, they're on their way. But yeah, I just thought that was an interesting MVP race. I think as the season goes on, it can get even tighter and tighter and tighter. We might can even see some new names get in there. But thus far, 20 games in, I like this race a lot. Obviously, I think Jokic runs away with this. But man, Shai has an argument. Embiid has an argument for sure. Embiid has the narrative. I think they're going to be a little bit hesitant with Embiid unless he full throttledly runs away with this because he got it last year and we saw the exit and the conversation. Did we rob Jokic? Should we just have given it to him? I think they're going to be a little cautious in that scenario. But damn. Kevin Durant, top 10 scoring of all time list. Congrats to Kevin Durant. Another guy that, on a conversation I'm taking for granted. It's so easy to forget because of the talent that keeps coming into the league year in, year out. But man, these guys at the end, these are guys that we all grew up on. And I think social media has created this thing where when you're a fan of certain teams or you're pro this player, you're pro that player, you have to kind of be against. And there's so much negativity. But I think a lot of people are going to look back on Kevin Durant's career and say, man, I took this dude for granted. I should have cared a little bit more when he was in the league. I should have really given him his flowers. I should have really dove in and appreciated his game while it was in front of my eyes. We're not going to get too many Kevin Durants. I know guys come in and they're slender and they have certain mobility and they can hit jump shots like this and like that. But Kevin Durant, man, was not only ahead of his time, but he created a new profound lane in the NBA. The reason these guys can come in at 6'9", 6'10", and be as thin and still be given the ball and to have to be 6'10", you had to kind of be that was a power forward's height. Wasn't just guys on the perimeter going crazy. No. Kevin Durant kind of made that a thing. That's why you see guys come in and year out, and it's like, oh, Kevin Durant. I can name 1,000 guys that came after Kevin Durant that they compared him to. Whether it was Perry Jones, the third from Baylor, Austin Daye from Gonzaga. I think they tried to put that label on Dragan Bender. It's probably even more. Chet Holmgren now, Brandon Ingram, who is a successful player, but there's just year in and year out, there's guys who have that thin frame, 6'10", long and skinny, and can score, and they're like Kevin Durant. And since he's been in the league, we really haven't seen it. At all. And I just think that, again, him reaching the top 10 all scoring, it just reminds me that, man, Kevin Durant is special. But he's also getting older, and he's also getting to that road, that near the end road. So these last 4 or 5, hopefully he got 5. I would love if he had 6 more years in him. But these last 5 or so years, got to lock in and appreciate it, because before you know it, guys are gone and they're never coming back again. You know what I'm saying? It's actually kind of sad when you think about it. You know, you look at somebody like Carmelo Anthony. It's a guy that a lot of people didn't a lot of people took for granted, and now we ain't gonna never see Melo again. Now we have to just watch highlights. You can't just get up and say, "Oh man, let me go see what Melo is doing against the Wizards." So much love to KD. Don't take that game for granted. Don't take any of these guys' games for granted. I know we talk about it a lot with LeBron, but man, Kevin Durant, I think, is in the same conversation. And then the last thing that I'll leave with is Terrence Ross retirement, man. Terrence Ross officially retired. I love Terrence Ross when he was at Washington University, going into the NBA with the Raptors. He was always a highlight guy. If you know 2K, my team, Terrence Ross is a card you always had to have. But yeah, just showing some love to T-Ross, man. I think it's important to give flowers, because the league has had so many incredible players, so many incredible talents. Guys like Terrence Ross often potentially can get lost in the shuffle of like remembering guys. So I just want to send some love to Terrence Ross. Also, yeah, before we get out of here, make sure y'all watching college basketball, man. College basketball has been exciting. This is an exciting weekend of upsets and just good basketball. I know this is also a college football championship week, but still, tune into college basketball. We look like we have another exciting, fun year of chaos ahead of us. So make sure y'all tuning in. A lot of people always ask me, man, where do I start? What's a team that I should watch to get into college basketball? College basketball isn't like the NBA where you have to follow a team. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might figure out a team that you really like and you really support, but because it's changing year in and year out, and guys are going to the NBA, new recruits are coming in, it's kind of hard to be like, man, this is my team that I love because this is how they play. Unless it's like Alabama and Nate Oates, where you know that they're going to always shoot up threes and things like that. But for the most part, I would just say just watch it. Whatever's available for you at the time that you're trying to watch it. And you're going to see some good basketball. It's not going to be the NBA. It's not going to be the NBA. I think that's where a lot of y'all lose yourselves at. It's not the NBA. That's the point. It's not the NBA. The NBA has some of the best talent. But when you talk about basketball and how it is played, college basketball at times is better basketball than the NBA. You're going to see a lot of different. You're going to see zones and how to beat zones and full court pressing and, you know, team basketball on offense and, you know, different principles that in the NBA, guys are so talented. It's just like, move out the way, let him work. Boom. And I think a lot of youth people watch that and they try to emulate that, when in reality, they should be trying to emulate college shit. Because when you're at the high school level, middle school level, you're not about to get a Jason Tatum isolation. I don't give I just, no. It's not happening. Maybe in AAU. But you got to probably be a McDonald All-American to have your coach be like, here, and you just do you. Not really popping. So, yeah, watch college basketball. I love y'all. Make sure, again, you are subscribed to this channel if you enjoy the type of content outside of the podcast. I also release weekly videos about the NBA, burning topics, reactions, whatever. That's what we do. So make sure you subscribe and be on the lookout. As always, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I'll see y'all next week. This is the Heliocentric Podcast. I am Pierre, Pee Wee the Plug Andreessen. I'm out. Peace.